Welcome to our Chapter 10 Algebra 1 review. I'm going to go through some things you're going to need to know to be prepared for your test, which is Friday. Alright, I'm not going to go through the whole chapter review. We have done some of that in class, so what I'm going to do is hit the highlights of the material that you really had to focus on last week on your own. So I sent you some videos, some explanations. I hope you could find something that worked for you. I know everybody learns differently. So hopefully you found something that you could plug into and that made sense to you. I'm going to review those sections today so that we're good. When you do your homework for Tuesday, you're going to do the Chapter 10 odds as a review. That way you can check your answers, see what you're doing. If and when you have questions, I have sent you a link on Remind and your email that you can come to Google Meet. Okay, I am sitting there at my computer just waiting to talk to somebody from 1 to 2:30 on Google Meet. Okay, so if you have questions, come ask me questions, ask me to work through one, explain something. That's the time. That's the best time. Trying to exchange this over emails would be crazy. Okay, so there's your chance. Come to Google Meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So Tuesday you're going to have the review from the book. Wednesday and Thursday I'm going to send you a review on Google Classroom. You will get it from there, complete it, you will turn it in on Google Classroom. Please don't email it to me, don't send it via Remind. Return it on Google Classroom. It is due Thursday night at midnight. So you have Wednesday, you have Thursday, it'll be a longer review, so you have plenty of time to do that. Keep in mind, that review is a quiz. So trusting your integrity here, you need to use only your book, which you may use obviously, and your calculator, which you may use. You may not use a parent, a sibling, a tutor, Google, Photomath, anything else. Please build your trust, do this well, do it on your own. You will have 2 days to complete that review, which will be counted as a quiz. Friday is your test, okay? So I'm going to hit some things from the end, 10.5, 10.6, 10.7. We're skipping 10.8, so cross it off, and don't worry about that. Let's start with Section 10.5. I got a few messages. Most of you hate completing the square. You'll live, but you need to learn it, okay? On the test, I am going to ask you to use specific methods to solve your quadratic equations. So if it says complete by graphing, you'll have to graph them. If it says solve by completing the square, you will have to use this method. When it says solve using the quadratic equation, you have to show me your work that you've used the quadratic equation. Some of you in your homework just factored. It's not going to work, okay? So I'm going to walk through a few with you. Let's do the odds. Again, I'm on your Chapter 10 review. This is Section 10.5. We'll do number 21, okay? So 21, the equation is 2x squared plus 12a minus 4 equals 0, okay? The first thing you do for completing the square is get this part by itself. So, most of you know that when it's minus 4, I add 4, and I get equals 4. Then I'm going to divide all of these by 2, because I can. It simplifies that way. Make sure you divide this side by 2 as well, okay? Now, I have a squared plus 6a. The way it works for completing the squares, you take half of b, which is 3, and you square it right here. If I'm balancing equations, what I do to one side, I do to the other side. Okay? So then I have a squared plus 6a plus 9 equals 2 plus 3 squared is 11. You should recognize this as a perfect square. That's the point of this whole exercise. And I get, that's a plus 3 in parentheses squared. Okay? Now, to solve for a, I take the square root of both sides. The square root of anything squared is simply that same thing. Okay? Now, on your calculators, the square root of 11 is plus or minus, always have two options, plus or minus 3.32, okay? So now I'm just going to solve for a, and most of you know how to do that. A equals, okay, subtract, so I have 3.32 minus 3, and I have negative 3.32 minus 3. Okay, 3.32 minus 3 leaves you with 0.32. Negative 3.32 minus 3 is a negative 6.32. Okay? When I look at your quizzes, your Chapter 10 reviews, when I look at your tests, this is the kind of work that I need to see. Okay? Showing step by step how you get each answer. Okay? And you'll have 2 answers at the bottom. All right? So, hopefully that answered a few questions. Most of you, from what I understand, much preferred solving with the quadratic equation. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to number 29 on your Chapter 10 review. And make sure we know this. The quadratic equation says the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. The important thing is to have it in this form, ax squared plus bx plus c. That's crucial. So number 29 says 2h minus 1 equals 10 minus 9h squared. Okay? I want this all on one side. I want it to equal 0. So I'm going to move this, because it's a negative, add it to this side. 9h squared. I'm going to do the same with the 10, but first I put my 2h, and I'm going to subtract 10 because it's a plus 10 over there, and I'm going to get minus 11 is 0, okay? Now it's in proper form, and I can see that a is 9, b is 2, and c equals negative 11. Very important to watch your signs. Again, most common mistake is missing a sign here, all right? So, plug it in. The opposite of b is negative 2, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 4, minus 4 times 8 is 9, c is negative 11, all over 2 times 9. X equals negative 2. Plus or minus the square root. Okay, I have 4. Here's where your signs can get you messed up. Negative 4 times negative 11 is positive 44 times 9 plus 396 all over 18. Okay? So, I'm going to go next to it here. X equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 400 all over 18. Hopefully you know the square root of 400 is 20. So x equals negative 2 plus 20 over 18. X equals negative 2 minus 20 over 18. Negative 2 plus 20 is 18. Over 18, x is 1, okay? X is negative 2 minus 20, x equals negative 22 over 18. If I divide that out, I'm going to get negative 1.22, okay? So, hopefully you can see all the way to the bottom there. Let's see, keep this just a little bit. But if not, you can hear me, you can pause that, freeze it, look closer, slow the video down, whatever you need to do. Again, that's the work I'm looking for to solve using the quadratic equation, okay? And pay attention to your signs, that's the biggest deal there. All right, let's look at the last section. 10.7 was using a portion of the quadratic equation. Okay, we call it the discriminant, all right? And the discriminant is using just that portion that was under the radical sign, all right? So, it is using b squared C. Again, it's important to have your equation in that quadratic form. A squared plus B squared is C squared. I'm sorry, Pythagorean theorem. AX squared plus BX plus C equals 0. Okay? So, that's important. Now, a couple things you need to know, and hopefully you got this, but I'm going to write these before I do a problem with you. And that is, when you have the discriminant, okay, when you get an answer that is negative, that means, okay, if your answer is negative when you do this, you have no solutions. All right? If your answer is 0, you have one solution. Okay? And if your answer is a positive number, you have two solutions. Now, when you're solving with the discriminant, usually they're just going to ask you, explain the solutions. What will your solutions look like? Not necessarily what are they. So, what you need to realize is if you have something and you solve it, you have that quadratic equation, you solve it for your discriminant, and you get no solutions, okay? Understand that's saying your graph is not going to hit the x-axis somewhere, okay? Your vertex won't be on your x-axis. You have no solutions, nothing that hits the x-axis. If you solve this for the discriminant and you get an answer of 0, that means you have one solution, meaning your graph would look like this. It would hit the x-axis at one point, okay, wherever that might be. Here again, you should know this by when we studied intercepts, but when you have a positive answer, you're going to have two solutions, meaning whatever way your graph goes might come down, your vertex might be down there, it might be up here, and you know I'm so great at my drawings, right? But it's going to have two solutions. It's going to hit the x-axis at two places, okay? So that's what we're doing when we're solving and we're finding the discriminant. All right, let's look at what that means. So last one here, we're going to look at number 35. Okay, this is section 10.7. Number 35, n squared minus 3n equals 4 minus 2n squared. Okay, very important. You need it in proper form. All right, so I'm going to move this to n squared. N squared plus 2n squared is 3n squared. Okay, nothing combines, no like terms here, so I still have negative 3n. I've got to move my 4, and it becomes a negative 4. This is where it's really important that you pay attention to your signs again. Okay, so looking for the discriminant, b squared. My b is here. Negative 3 squared is 9 minus 4 times 3 times negative 4. Okay, there's where it's really important. Okay, so d equals 9. Okay, negative 4 times 3 is negative 12 times negative 4 gives me a plus 48. So for the answer, I get 57. Okay, they're not looking for 57. What you have to recognize is 57 is a positive number. That means it will hit the x-axis in two places. I have two solutions. Okay, so little summary on 10.5 through 10.7. Again, hope that helps. Do the odds for the chapter review. Stick to the sections that you struggle with. Figure those out. If you still have questions, come see me on Google Meet on Wednesday or Friday. Friday, your test is due by midnight, so however long it takes you, you'll be able to get that from Google Classroom on Friday. All right? Good luck. Hope to hear from you if you have any questions.